we're into the top half of the grid. Or are we? Because it's Aston Martin in 5th. Now I say are we because they've not really had a good season at all. They are miles off it. And there have been occasions when Haas and RB, quite frankly, have been as fast, if not faster than during some race weekends. They were really coming into this season on, a bit of a damp squib really in 2023 because their ending to their season was so poor. They dropped down so much compared to where they were at the start. This season could renewed optimism give them some better performances and better results. It kind of seemed like it might have done early on in the season. Alonso got some good results for them. 5th in Saudi Arabia, 6th in Japan, 6th in Canada, but at the end of the day, this is miles off where they were in 23. In 23, Alonso was getting podiums regularly. He was getting some second places as well when Sergio Perez was not doing particularly well. He was even in the window to win some races as well. That's how good he was doing in that car, but not even the absolute legend that is Fernando Alonso. I mean, say what you want about his team politics and how he makes the wrong move at the wrong time when it comes to going to different outfits. You can't deny that the guy is an incredibly fast Formula 1 driver. He's a double world champion for a very good reason at the end of the day. But yeah, even he can't rescue this car, which it just seems to be going further and further down the grid. The first quarter of the season, they were not too bad. Aston Martin on the whole, they were, getting some good points finishes. They were beating the McLarens and the Ferraris every now and again, although not too regularly. And they were around where Mercedes were. And you look at where Mercedes have gone to since then. Mercedes have won, three of the last 4 races to end up all the way up and challenging Ferrari for that 3rd position in the Constructors' Championship. But since then, Aston Martin have just gone off the cliff. They've gone off the cliff like a Pirelli in 2013. It's just not worked out for them whatsoever. Lance Stroll, to his credit, I think has been better this season than he has been in previous seasons, but it's a very low bar to hit. I will say that he's been better. He has had some good results every now and again in that Aston Martin. And if you look at it purely from a race head-to-head point of view, 9-5 in Alonso's favour. That's better than it has been in the past. You look at the qualifying record, for example, last season, Alonso beat him 19-3. I don't think it's been that much of a whitewash this season for Alonso in qualifying, and it certainly hasn't been during the race either. So for me, Stroll's been doing better. I don't think he's been doing enough though, because he's only just ahead of Nico Hülkenberg and Yuki Tsunoda in the Drivers' Championship by a few points. He's too inconsistent still, and he's still making some relatively rookie errors, but I do think he's been better. Alonso, there's definitely an argument to say that he has regressed this season, but I feel like the car is the main cause of that. I think Stroll is performing where the car should be, or just below where the car should be, but Alonso is performing above it. So with that in mind, I'm going to give Aston Martin a D, because it has been disappointing. Yes, they are 5th in the Constructors' Championship, which is not a disaster, you would say, in itself, but the gap between them and Mercedes in 4th is ridiculous. Mercedes on 266 points. Aston Martin on 73. Not 173, 73. Almost 200 points behind 4th place. And RB are not out of the question for beating Aston Martin through the second half of the season. 34 points for RB, 73 for Aston Martin. I think Aston Martin will be safe, but only just. And you think about the money that Lawrence Stroll is pouring into that team, the new factory, all the ambition there. It's just not working. It's not bearing fruit yet. Maybe it will in 2026. Maybe that's their big ambition. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, to be honest. Both of their drivers are tied down with their contracts until 26 at least. So yeah, we'll see what happens with them. I've given Alonso a B because I feel like he is outperforming the car more often than not. And Lance Stroll, I've given a D. I mean, I'd give him a D plus if I could. I feel like he's almost there in terms of a C. He's almost been there. But still, you have to say it's been disappointing. He's miles off his teammate, who is over 40 years old now. Yes, I know he's a legend of the sport, double world champion, one of the greatest of all time, but Lance Stroll should be hitting the peak of his powers now, and he's still nowhere near Alonso. So you have to put it down as disappointing, and you'd have to say that another driver like Yuki Tsunoda would do better in that car. But there we go, guys. That's my take on Aston Martin. Let's head on to Mercedes next.